Okay, so you might have heard on the news over the last couple of days that our GCSE Chancellor, aka Reeves, has decided that they're going to go ahead with their plans to tax EV drivers a cost per mile that they drive. And in this video, I'm going to very quickly go through what that is, why they're doing it, and who's going to be affected and what you are going to have to pay. So basically, the government gets duty from fuel. It's a tax on petrol and diesel. And that goes into repairing the roads and paying for other things as well. Now, as more and more people move over to EVs, the amount of petrol that people are consuming and diesel is dropping. So the government is now in a little bit of a panic because they're not getting as much money as what they normally would. So what do? Well, this is where the new tax comes in, and it is a tax. So if you are an EV driver, you are going to be having to declare how many miles in the next 12 months you expect to do. You probably end up doing this at the same time as you renew your VED or old-fashioned road tax, as we call it. And this will be an estimate of what you expect to do in the next 12 months. Same goes for your insurance. Every year you get a quote for a new insurance, and you tell them roughly how many miles you expect to do in the next 12 months. Now, with the tax paid per mile, when it comes to that 12-month review, if you've underestimated, as in you declared that you might do 5,000, but you've actually done 8,000, then you'll be asked to pay the difference. If you overestimate it, so you say you're going to do 8,000, but you only do 5,000, you won't actually get your money back. What will happen is that will be credited onto the next year. Now, as I say, they're doing this because they need to raise income, revenue, tax. And they're not doing it from petrol or diesel anymore because more people are seeing the light and moving over to cars. Cheaper to run, more efficient, quieter, not polluting towns and cities with PM 2.5 and other carcinogens. So it's better for the environment. Now, where there's a little bit of an issue with this is how do they get that data? So at the moment, it looks like they're going to be asking you to do almost like a self-assessment form for those that have worked for themselves in the past. You do the self-assessment form, you estimate what it is. But how accurate is that data going to be? We don't know. Will they try and use MOTs to gather that data? Very possibly. However, most lease cars get returned before their first MOT is due. So that's 3 years. What about servicing then? Another good option. However, most EVs, and especially Teslas, actually don't need a service annually. It could be every 2 years or maybe even 3 years, depending on how many miles you drive. So again, there's a bit of a flaw there that the government hasn't quite thought about. So they're going to be missing a lot of this data. But set everything aside, that's their plan. They want to tax you per mile. Now, if you do a lot of driving in Europe, tough. You're still going to have to pay per mile. They will not ask how much of that was in Europe and how much of it was in the UK. You just pay per mile, regardless of where you did it. So you're paying the UK government for using French roads. Or in the situation of Northern Ireland, if you live in Northern Ireland and you travel over the border to Southern Ireland to work, you're going to be paying tax on that mileage, regardless if it was in Southern Ireland, which is part of the EU. So again, there's a few anomalies there. So what's it going to cost you? So at the moment, they are saying that all full EVs, so this is complete 100% battery EVs, are going to be paying 3 pence per mile. Okay. Now, for me, that's going to work out about £240 a year. I do about 8,000 miles a year. So that's going to be about £240 that I'm going to have to pay. Now, I believe you can pay this in monthly installments, just like you can your VED or road tax, and you pay it off during the year. So that's not a big problem. If you drive a plug-in hybrid, you are already paying tax duty on the petrol that you're using. But you are now going to be asked to pay a 1.5 pence per mile. Yep, plug-in hybrid drivers are going to be double whammied on this. You're going to have to pay your tax duty on the fuel that you put in, plus 1.5 pence per mile. Now, just consider this, because it's a hybrid, you and the government will not know how many miles you did using the battery. They're not interested. They are just going to say, this is the number of miles that you did per year. Don't care if it's petrol, which you pay tax on already, or it's EV, and we want 1.5 pence per mile. It's a flat fee, 1.5 pence per mile across all the miles that you do in a plug-in hybrid, which is going to cause a little bit of a concern, especially those that have just gone over to plug-in hybrids because they're sold as the future. And yeah, they have better range than EVs, but they do use petrol. Now, I have no issue paying my way. I have no issues paying tax. I am using the roads, which VED pays for. So what's this tax actually going to be used for? I don't know. And bear in mind that if you public charge, you're already paying more than a home charger as well, because you're paying 20% VAT on that electric, whereas a home charger, you only pay 5 pence per kilowatt hour. You're going to get hit by 1.5 pence per mile for the EV part of it. And you are going to, and if you publicly charge your hybrid, I'm not sure why you would, but if you do publicly charge your hybrid, then you're paying 20% VAT as well. So you're actually even worse off. Now, I did a video at the end of last year when this was all first announced, and I did the sums, and basically it works out that the cost per mile for me would have to go up to about 17 to 19 pence per mile in order for me to be breaking even with the cost of running a petrol or diesel car. So there's quite a way for this to go yet before I'm actually going to be worse off financially. But also don't forget that if you drive an EV that is classified as a luxury vehicle, which I think is 40,000 or 45,000, can't remember which, you're paying tax on that as well. And as most EVs cars do, unless you buy a cheap one, a lot of them do come above that price range because you're getting more technology, bigger batteries, and much more luxurious car for your money. So you tend to be in that bracket as well. So you're being hit there as well. And finally, so what do I think is going to happen? Well, I'm hoping the government actually makes a bit of a U-turn on this one and actually reconsiders it and speaks to the motoring organisations, because we're not polluting towns and cities. If anything, we're helping because we're making it cleaner, the air better. We're making it more nice of an area to live in. We're not killing our children with fumes outside schools and so on. So we're making it a nicer place, better for the environment. But because of that, we're being penalised per mile. So I'm not sure how they're going to get around this. They may do a complete U-turn and rethink. I don't know. But knowing the government and previous governments as well, if they can get money out of you, they will do. So anyway, I'll keep you updated as and when more information comes out. But I do appreciate you watching, and give it a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe so you don't miss any more, and I'll see you in the next video.